Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, ho, 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 or hello, hello. My name is Billy Diamond, and welcome to episode number 32 of the Branding for Entertainers podcast. And I hope this finds you doing well. And if you're traveling for the holidays by chance, for Christmas, I hope you're safe wherever you're at. And here in America, listen, we have had all kinds of crazy weather over the past couple of days and all over the nation. In fact, from north to south, from east to west, it's just been really unpredictable. In fact, it's freezing here on this Christmas Eve here in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The unpredictable weather really reminds me a little bit of how some companies brand and market. You see, sometimes it's a whirlwind and you just don't know what to expect from them. You know what I'm talking about? But listen, a good brand really offers consistency and reliability. Just kind of like I'd like to have my weather right now here tonight, a little bit more consistent. So anyhow, in tonight's episode, we're going to talk about how you can get your messaging clear as it relates to your brand and why sending the wrong message will confuse your buyer and your audience. And if you've ever tried to close a gig by upselling more services and they're just not buying it, well, stick around for this episode. Again, my name is Billy Diamond, and if you're here for the first time, welcome to the podcast. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to help entertainers just like you all over the world, and during my 40-plus years of being a performer, as well as a marketer and a brander. So I want to help you with your visual, verbal, and your virtual branding, and I want you to be able to get it right. So let's do this. Let's get started on this episode right now. Boy, do I have something for you tonight. I have been seeing this thing lately with Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. By the way, my favorite that actually Hershey gets right. And I'll take a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup over a Hershey chocolate bar or any of their other products any day.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
But here's what they're doing. They are now offering this thing that comes up on my feed all the time. And by the way, for you that don't know, I am in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I'm a stone's throw from the factory, literally. And so here's the thing. Reese's, as of recently, see what I did there? They're offering this thing. It's called Direct from Factory, where they're saying, hey, get these Reese's Peanut Butter Cups direct from the factory. They're going to cost you, I want to say it's like $24.90. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the ad right now. It's $24.99 to get these things shipped directly to your house, and they're direct from the actual factory. So it got me thinking from a brand perception, and I want to talk about that just for a moment.
Are you guys ready to try Reese's Peanut Butter Cups direct from the factory?
Here's my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but it seems that Hershey, as well as a lot of businesses, they'll prostitute themselves out to make a buck any way that they can. So here's the thing. When we talk about brand perception, this is one of those deals where I'm just like, What are these people thinking? What are these executives with these degrees and the boardrooms and all this back and forth? What are they thinking sometimes? And here's my thing. I've already mentioned that I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups over anything that Hershey offers. And I mean, and there's other things I do like Twizzlers and things like that they purchased in recent years. So there are other things. But when it comes to chocolate, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, hands down. And yeah, so there you have it. But let me kind of jump back into this. As much as I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups over any of the other Hershey's chocolate stuff, here's what I'm thinking. Does this mean that the direct from factory Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are better than the regular ones that you and I get at Walmart or at a convenience store or whatever? And the answer to that is probably yes, because they're coming from the factory. But the perception that is given, they're saying basically in their marketing is, hey, this is direct from factory, and everything else you're getting is exactly that. It's garbage. And honestly, I just think it's horrible business, and I think it's really bad marketing. And it reminds me of a soda company, which many of you know, Coke. Back in the day, they did this thing with Classic Coke, and they had a new Coke. Take just a short listen to what the CEO at that time, back on April 23rd, 1985, had to say.
The best soft drink, Coca-Cola, is now going to be even better. Simply stated, we have a new formula for Coke.
Honestly, that campaign was a flop. However, that depends on how you look at it or who you even ask, because it did gain momentum because they really did have a great campaign. It became this, there's no easier way to say it, it became a shit show.
All of the taste tests said people preferred the taste of this new product to the century-old product. What they hadn't factored in was the huge emotional attachment there was to this brand.
And there you have it. People have an emotional attachment to the brand aside from the product. And essentially, Coke actually, within 3 months, the president came back on, gave another press conference and said, you know what? We heard you and we listen, or we're listening to you right now, and you're right. We took something away. And by the way, when New Coke was out, you couldn't get anything for 3 months. You could not get the classic Coke that we know today. And again, people revolted. And because people revolted, they stood up and they listened. Thank God they actually listened. Makes me wonder, are you listening to your audience and what your audience is saying to you? There's a great lesson here to be heard and learned.
Our boss is the consumer.
This is Coke's president in July of that same year, 1985.
Some critics will say Coca-Cola has made a marketing mistake. And some cynics say that we planned the whole thing. The truth is, we're not that dumb and we're not that smart.
Sometimes, honestly, I really do. I smack my head and I wonder how some of these marketing moves ever even get a green light. And don't even get me started when it comes to Reese's and some of the silly stuff that Hershey does with them.
New Reese's Big Cup with potato chips.
The bottom line is, listen, just stop ruining a really, really good thing. And you know what? Mr. H.B. Reese, the founder, by the way, of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. And by the way, H.B. Reese actually worked for Milton Hershey once upon a time, branched out, created his own thing. And isn't it coincidental? He's now a conglomerate with Hershey. And their graves are not too far from me, and I visited both of them. But I digress. Here again, I digress. I'd have another 2 more cents of opinion, and hang with me here. I think this is really important. And I think we can do the same thing as entertainers. And I'll bring this back around. I'll tie it up in a nice little bow and a nice little package here in just a moment. But I honestly think a better business and a marketing strategy is if they actually went and they wanted to talk about doing something direct from factory, if they were to actually offer peanut butter cups that would allow the customer to go ahead and just order them with, you know, maybe they have a certain amount of ingredients that they offer and say, here, you can do it yourself. And here's what we'll do. You create it online. We'll ship it out. And here's the thing. People love making their own products. I'll give you a good example. I just talked to my brother yesterday, and he and my sister-in-law, they just got back from Kentucky, and he was telling me they made their own bourbon to their own taste while they were there. They're big bourbon fans. So they were able to create this thing of their own bourbon at one of these distilleries, and they loved it. So here's the thing. This approach is not only more personalized when it comes to experience, but you know what? Hey, if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. And the only one to have the blame is yourself. And all of a sudden, you can't blame that company or that brand. Does that make sense? Also, in the process of this is, listen, it's a premium priced product. And therefore, people will pay for a premium product. You could actually do the same exact thing with your entertainment business by building an a la carte product, or in this case, we say product, but I really mean service, right? And you can allow your client to add those sprinkles on top of the chocolate. Now, what I mean by this is so many times we build a package 1, 2, and 3, and we say, this is the way it is. This is what I do. And that's great if that's working. However, I would say a better approach is to build an a la carte sort of thing where you actually allow your client to build a package that adapts to them. Instead of you selling them the product and the service, you're kind of vetting them and you're understanding them more. And this is where I think a lot of entertainers, not everyone, but a lot of entertainers get it wrong. They're like, hey, you know what? I can make your kid float for X amount of dollars. I can do this, 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 this. And it turns into the selling thing of an upsell as opposed to pulling back a little bit and just listening to what the client wants. Remember when Donald, the president of Coke back in 1985 said, you know what? The consumer pays our check. Basically, that's what he said. And we have to listen to what the consumer says and what it is that they want. Now, we can offer these things, but we can only offer it if we listen. And isn't that a better upsell if you can sell them this, 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 and this based off of what you know that they need versus you telling them what they need to have, just like Reese's is trying to do with this direct-to-factory thing. I think way too many companies get it wrong when they begin to experiment with their flagship product.
One day, many years ago,
taste this. Chocolate and peanut butter.
And something that they're really good at, they can easily mess up. And honestly, done wrong, they risk losing brand loyalty, brand perception, as well as the all-important, most important thing, the profit margin. And I think you have to be just as careful as an entertainer about your brand positioning, your product and your services, or your flagship product. Your flagship product is really what you're known for. That brings me to the next point, and that is sometimes I think we can go with the masses and we can get over here and over here and over here. What do I mean by that? Well, I've seen so many magicians say, well, I've got to go do balloons, and now I've got to go do foam shows. I've got to go do this, 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 this. Now, please understand also that I'm not attacking you if you are a person that is doing that, or I'm not trying to instigate something here. And I say, if you're doing that, hey, good for you. But here's what I do promise you. You're probably doing it because not only that's what everybody else seems to be doing, but you're also working a lot harder, and you're over here and you're over here and you're over here, but you're not doing what you're truly, truly passionate about. And that's what I want you to think about in this particular episode. What are you really good at? What's your flagship product? Don't pivot from that too much, because you can get off course. And if you're off course, you begin to confuse people, and they really begin to question, what is it that you do? And here's the thing. Pull it back, make it simple, make it direct. Don't make it direct from factory, though. But have your flagship product that you offer. If you are a magician and you have package 1, 2, and 3, and that is working, keep package 1, 2, and 3. That doesn't mean not grow your business. And it also doesn't mean don't upsell or sell a la carte like I had mentioned earlier. But what it does mean is if it's working, don't try to make something of such a change that you lose people in that process. And that's exactly what Reese's has done with their direct-to-factory on something so silly and so stupid, because it makes it look like, you know what? The other Reese's that I get don't come from a factory. Sounds silly, right? But it's true. Here's the thing. Make your product and your service the very best that it can be, and continue to hone that. And don't lose sight by trying to go here, 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 here. And my bottom line advice is this. Just do some things really well, do them slowly, and grow your market and grow your brand. I'm Billy Diamond. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them in an upcoming episode of the Branding for Entertainers podcast. Hit me up. I'd love to talk to you. And in the meantime, again, my name is Billy Diamond. I hope that all of you have a wonderful Christmas or holiday, however you celebrate it, and we'll talk real soon. And if you're of the age where you're looking for a little bit of nostalgia, stick around to right after this music for a little bit of commercials and some news from the past.
Well, today, Coke announced a new real thing, a change in its formula. And as Mike Jensen reports, Pepsi said baloney.
Pepsi is giving its employees the day off to celebrate. Pepsi says by today's action, Coke has admitted that it's not the real thing.
What do you think about Coke changing its formula?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Why?
Well, it's not as I used to like. I like to drink the Coke because of the strength of the like when it's fresh, it has a lot of power, a lot of fizz to it, and I like that. That's what I like about it most.
Free Pepsi was the order of the day just a few blocks away from the Coca-Cola announcement. In addition, the challengers took out a full-page ad in the New York Times, pouring it on the competition.
We're here to say that victory is sweet. I think Coke's announcement today is a concession of victory to us. I think most people know that when something is right, you don't change it. We're not changing it, they are.
All the hoopla aside, Coca-Cola is still number one in sales in this country and the world. Pepsi is making...
Here's what one YouTuber by the name of Kevin, I think it's Demaro, I'm not sure, but here's what he had to say about this whole thing with Direct from Factory.
So they give you a little thank you note, now that you've taken out a second mortgage on your house, financed this on your credit card, they thank you for your purchase. So I have the Reese's Fresh from the Factory peanut butter cup here. I have a regular not fresh Reese's, well, I mean it's fresh, I just bought it a couple days ago, but it didn't come from the factory. Before I do a review of this one, I want to do a blind taste test to see if you can really taste the difference. So I just reviewed my footage and I was actually wrong. The one that I thought was the factory fresh was actually from the grocery store. Here I have the factory fresh one and I'm going to give my full review. In short, I just want to tell you there is not much of a difference between the store-bought and the factory fresh. For sure not $40 worth of a difference. I actually thought that the non-factory fresh one tasted better. That could just be because I'm ghetto and I don't know what tastes good and what's not. However, in a blind taste test, I really couldn't tell the difference. The store-bought one I think is just as good. It was a little bit softer, the chocolate, and I think that that's what threw me off into thinking that factory fresh, it would be soft, like baked cookies out of the oven, and that is totally not the case. So my review in short, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup factory fresh is save your money, they're not worth it. You can't tell the difference.